Blessings, comrades. So I have good news for you. I am currently working on what I like to call a TV show script. It's just something I'm doing for fun, and I'll kind of talk to you about it. So, number one, the main people in this TV show, the main concept is that Volcadia, a very unique country in in the United States, west of the Mississippi. That's where the borders are in this Volcadia. They also have a colony on the Yucatan. They have a colony in southern Africa. They have a colony in the Pacific, and they have a colony in Japan, and they also have a Martian colony. So that's pretty interesting. And all these colonies, they have their viceroyal governments in Volcadia. It's technically a communist country. But I wanted to spice it up. It's ran by a king. How does it work? The king is a figurehead of the people, leading the country under a socialist doctrine that attributes both of the standards for communism, standards for socialist country, and a standard for a monarchist country. So old traditions with modern economics, the monarch supports the poor of the nation. This country is also pretty nationalist, but this TV show isn't an introduction to Volcadia. Far from it. In 2055, so near future, they have a colony on Mars, they have all that. Volcadia's king has died. There are 3 people that can replace it: Willow, Nacralis, and Varsilu. Willow is head of the Democratic Libertarian Alliance, which is a party dedicated to the ideals of democracy, free market capitalism, pragmatism, and, most importantly, and internationalism. That's what Willow's beliefs are. She also believes that Volcadia should be a federal state. Varsilu, the Grand Marshal of Volcadia, also is headed for the throne. He is going to take it over under a military coup, and he believes in nationalism, militarism. But even though he plans on becoming a dictator, he believes in democracy because, according to him, his dictatorship will end quickly and the people will elect a democratic government in accordance to his values. In Dragonia Mars, he also not only is he the Grand Marshal, he's also the Viceroy of Dragonia Mars. But one of the things is that he is Orthodox Christian, unlike Willow and Nacralis, who believe in Volcadia's religion of Thorax faith. Him being an Orthodox Christian, he has constructed one of his missions is also a holy mission, to convert more Volcadians to become Orthodox Christians. So, if you're Orthodox Christian, perhaps give me some ideas, if you want. And then, of course, there is Nacralis. He wants to take over the country, and he doesn't believe in democracy. You see, Volcadia, being called the People's Kingdom of Volcadia, still has some elements of a democratic country, such as regional governments, a senate, positions for the royal household, and also not only does it have a democratic government, it also believes in kind of a socialist way of life as well. It's now Crawley's, he wants to get rid of that democracy. He doesn't believe in it. He simply believes that the will of the people requires a dictatorship. Is he right? Is he wrong? It's for the philosophers to decide. But let me also tell you a little bit about the international political scene in some of the major countries out there. Number one, there's Joe Shara. It's also called the National Republic of Joe Shara, or the Founders Republic of Joe Shara. It's ran by a president. Well, he calls himself the president, but he is a monarch. Most of the time he leads his people, it's now a it's Maria the First of Joe Shara, and she is a believer in, democracy, but she wants to remain as the founding monarch. Joe Shara has many inspiration from America. And of course, it's part of the American Union, an alliance between three countries: Joe Shara, Bjork, a reactionary kingdom, and Varia, a former fascist government now turned liberal. Now turned somewhat left-leaning under the leadership of the reformist faction of the fascist party that ruled Varia. And of course, that whole side was broken down. Canada? Let me describe to you other nations. Let's go to Ethiopiana. Ethiopiana is a socialist country. It believes in, pure, unadulterated socialism. It believes in it also has a presidential monarchy. It's now led by Nathan Oserwatch, who plans on turning Ethiopiana into a democracy in the future. And of course, they're backing Willow in the Wolcadian Republic, just as the American Union, primarily Joe Shara, is backing Varsilu to take over Wolcadia. Let's actually go into Europe. Europe is divided between the Eurasian Union and the monarchist countries of Western Europe. Britain is still a democracy, and they eliminated their monarch, and foreign nations are gaining an advantage in Britain, trying to take over the country. East Asia, Japan's a Wolcadian viceroyalty. China and all of Korea are now unified under the Holy Chinese Empire, which is a theocracy of Thorax faith, but they're a bit different. They don't completely agree with the Wolcadians. And, the Middle East is peaceful, and I don't see any story events taking place in the southern hemisphere, but maybe as the story continues. So let's talk about some of the major alliances. Well, first of all, we have the Wolcadian Sphere. The Wolcadian Sphere is essentially a democracy, is essentially an alliance ran by Wolcadia. It is similar to the Warsaw Pact, and it's between Wolcadia, their viceroyalties, and that's about it. There is, of course, the Warsaw Pact, ran by Eurasia. Eurasia has no puppet government. They just annexed the territories because they believe that all of Eurasia is Eurasian. They would have the Chinese, well, they would have it would be the Eurasian Soviet Union, or just the Soviet Union. They run the Warsaw Pact. There's the Democratic Alliance between Ethiopia, Canada, and Britain, well, Australia and Britain, which is just an alliance for general democracy. It does have a rivalry with the American Union due to claimed territories, but they would not go to war over such territories. What else? Oh yeah. The monarchist countries in Western Europe, they are unified under a faction. That's, of course, European monarchies. Let's also continue to Let's also continue to the religious and magical system. In this setting, in this thing, story, TV show, whatever you want to call it, it's ran by the canon religion. The true religion in this is Thorax faith. What interpretation? We don't know. However, it does not reveal itself as a canon religion, and only the Wolcadian palace has any evidence that there is. For example, there's Necralis. He's a necromancer. He is a supporter of lots of, stuff like that. And so the god is primarily Thorak, but there are also other gods. Virtu, Ajalk,